Ladies and gentlemen of Knucklehead Nation, thank you so much for joining me tonight on a special episode of the show. As you can see, to my left, it would be to your right, I've got none other than a very special guest, Makana from NVIIIVE Apparel. Man, we're connected with Makana all the way out there in Hawaii. Check him out. You know, you could just tell by his demeanor and his whiskey and his smile that he's in Hawaii having a good time. What's going on, brother?
How are you? How are you? Thanks for having me.
An absolute pleasure, man. Makana, first and foremost, I want to thank you for helping sponsor FightersRep, and believing in the brand. And, we only want to relate to people that we feel like are relevant to our brand, So I'm going to kind of, let you take over from here. I love the concept of NVIIIVE Apparel. Um, you've got an athletic background yourself. You're still in there. You're still working in that field. I actually met you through our commentator, Chris Cross, who's a fighter, also from Hawaii. But I kind of want you to let people know, A, who is Makana, and B, what is NVIIIVE Apparel? Break it down for me, bro.
So who is Makana? I'm Makana. I am from Hawaii, Oahu to be specific. Kalihi, stand up. I'm a father. My son is Hokulea. That is my life. First and foremost, that's everything for me. Is my son. Um, I'm a coach, personal trainer, strength and conditioning coach. Currently coaching football right now at a local high school in Hawaii. Um, native apparel is a concept that I came up with in 2013. And I probably would have quit, but a local surf shop told me it was garbage, so I had to make sure that they ate their words one day. And
My
and
goodness. My goodness.
that's where we're at right now. Yeah. So, being from Hawaii, we have such a melting pot, of cultures, um, that your best friends, your girlfriend, your brothers, cousins, whatever, they'll be different ethnicities from you. And native native is us celebrating our differences, but being one at the same time. In this day and age, we have a lot of friction. You turn on the TV, you see the news. There's a lot of disheartening things going on out there in the
Yeah,
world,
yeah.
and I hope that native stands as a as a message to everybody that no matter what, we all one race, human race. We're all brothers and sisters. Everybody love everybody, and let's make the best of what we got.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? I absolutely love and gravitate to that concept, Makana. And, I'm not one really to talk too much about, socioeconomics and politics and race and things like that. I'm mostly concentrated in the fight game, right? But, obviously in the fight game, I mean, it's also a melting pot. And you've got so many excellent different cultures and ethnicities that compete. And it's what makes it exciting. It's what makes it great. But you're right, at the end of the day, we're all natives of this planet, right? We're all natives of this earth. We're all natives
Right,
of,
right.
the same father and the same mother if we go back far enough.
Yep. Exactly.
And I love that concept. Me right here on the left. I mean, I'm an Arab American. Both parents from the Middle East had to go through Venezuela, Mexico, make their way to the United States, where they met and conceived me in Miami, Florida. Which, I think Miami, Florida. Shoot, man, it's probably more Hispanic than it is English speaking at this point. And I'm talking to you out. I'm in California now, and I'm talking to you out there in Hawaii. You mentioned amazingly. I mean, it's almost like coming full circle that you're part Puerto Rican, which is
Yeah,
which is
yeah. Yes, I
for
am.
me in Miami. I mean,
See,
I grew up
see, see.
around a ton of Puerto Ricans, man. kind of fill me in about that, because it sounds like you come from a melting pot the same way I did, and you appreciate people's kind of differences and what they bring to the table.
Yeah. So Hawaii is known, or if you look back into history, there's a lot of plantations, whether it was pineapple, sugar canes, whatever you want, plantations. So they needed a lot of workers. So they got people from China, Japan, Puerto Rico, like all over the world to come to this one spot to work. You know, and my grandfather, my grandfather was born on the boat coming from Puerto Rico to Hawaii, on the Big Island of Hawaii, or actually Hawaii. There is a rock with a plaque on it that has my family's last name, Santiago, and it's just stating, this is where the first Puerto Ricans landed in Hawaii, or sailed to
Wow.
in Hawaii.
Wow. Wow.
So, being Puerto Rican is it is big to me, especially in the fight game,
Oh yeah.
boxers,
Oh yeah.
MMA, you know,
And
um,
Hawaiians. I mean, let's not let's
food.
not act like there's not a ton of Hawaiian fighters out there too. You know what I mean?
No, yeah, but like a lot of these Hawaiian fighters, we're all mixed with
For
everything else
sure.
too.
For sure. For sure.
So it's funny is you always see that no matter who's fighting from Hawaii, they always come walking out with that flag,
Yeah.
and those fighters are always mixed with something else. So it's the pride of being so mixed that you're unique.
I love that. I love that. And Makana,
Yeah.
Makana, the other reason I kind of gravitated towards the brand and I really appreciate it is, here at Fighters Rep, I mean, we're in Southern California. And I mean, if you name an ethnicity, you know, they've probably competed at Fighters Rep. If you name a nationality, they've probably competed at Fighters Rep. I mean, we have kids from Azerbaijan and Armenia and El Salvador, and we've had a couple, athletes from the African continent. We've had every single ethnicity. We've had Vietnamese and Korean. I mean, we have the Korean pit bull. Get this, Makana, and this is a fantastic fight for Fighters Rep 10 that I want to really point out to you and all the people that are going to be coming to the show, because you will, as a sponsor, be in the VIP coming to the show, and I appreciate you for
Oh yeah.
that. And cheers, we'll be drinking our whiskey in the VIP, so cheers to you, brother.
Yes,
But
sir. Shout out to Surfers Coffee.
I love it, I love it. But Makana, we have a kid by the name of Oscar Mueller, proud Salvadoran American. He's going to be taking on Joshua Fochtman, aka the Korean Pit Bull. And I think that's going to be one of the best fights of the night. We've also got on the main event, we've got Justin Moss, a kid from Colorado, taking on Chris Cully, a guy from out here in California with roots in Guyana, of all places. And that's the main event. I mean, it's just an incredible melting pot of fighters.
What's the weight classes? What's the weight class like? Is it the same type of weight class as it you see in like Bellator, UFC, that kind of stuff, or is it the weight class a little bit different than what most viewers are normally, or what they're used to
Right,
seeing?
right. So on the amateur front, we're sanctioned by the IKF, right? So the IKF does like its own weight classes, where I'll run through some for you, but it's the undercard. So the amateurs are a little bit different, and it goes from basically straw weight, which is 108, and then it goes to 112, 117, 122. So it almost goes 7 and then 2, and then 7 and 2 until you get to 153 pounds. Then it goes from to 159 to 165. So it's a little bit odd. But in the pro ranks, I mean, it's very much like boxing. It's very much like boxing. I think it's a little bit more weight classes than in MMA, because in MMA, you go from 185 all the way to 205 before you get to the next class. And I think that's a bit
Right.
too much. I mean, as a strength and conditioning coach, Makana, that space between 185 and 205, I mean, there's a lot of guys that fall in between that space and can't really find their space. You know what I mean? There should be a class right in between there, in my opinion.
Right. Right. Right.
So,
I was watching the YouTube earlier, and I was watching these big boys just whack each other, and I was like, yeah, I kind of want to, I kind of want to see that.
well, we have had super heavyweights on, which are guys, according to the IKF, which I believe are over 265 pounds. We did have a fight with super heavyweights, and it was an incredible fight. And obviously, you guys can watch it on the YouTube channel. But Makana, I kind of wanted to ask you. You've been involved in athletics. You're a strength and conditioning coach. You said you're working with a football team out there in Hawaii, known for having some of the best football teams in the world. What's kind of driving you towards combat sports, besides the fact that you're friend with professional fighter Chris Cross, who works with us? What's kind of driving you towards combat sports, and even being interested in sponsoring something like a kickboxing event?
Well, first of all, if anybody asks, Chris Clark is my cousin. All
Got
right.
you, got you, got you, got you.
Nah, but you, I've played football since eighth grade
Yeah,
up into college. I've been coaching football for 7 years now. Um, and now that I don't compete, and I see this in a lot of my friends and a lot of my peers, is that we miss competing.
yeah,
And a lot of times the only place where you can find competition is with yourself, whether it's in the gym or doing your own personal work or whatever makes you money. You got to find something that lights that fire so you can
right,
compete.
right, right.
And I see a lot of ex football players in particular, just because, dude, 1% of everybody who plays football, maybe even less than that, makes it to a professional
Right,
level.
right.
So what happens to the 99% of the guys who've been competing their whole life, right? So you either fall off and die, or you can continue that and live your life with competition. And fighting, any professional fighting, amateur fighting, it's competition. Even if you don't get in the ring and you're the featured, the main card, or you're the fight of the night, whatever. To be able to compete is something that, dude, I can't even explain it. If you've never competed in anything in your life, then you're missing
Right,
out.
right, right.
It's a drug. Like it gets
It
you up, it
really
gets you
is,
going, gets your
man.
blood
It
pumping.
really is.
Bro, competing, to be able to compete against somebody and measure yourself in a certain light, it feeds you, it drives you. And then on top of that, people see fighters, and I mean, the naive ones will think, oh, but there's so much discipline that comes with fighting, whether it's your nutrition, your training regimen, sleeping,
Yeah.
things that the average person overlooks. So to combine the two, competition and discipline, I mean, if we're ever so blessed to be able to have that, man, what a life, right? Like,
Yeah.
can you imagine
Yeah.
how boring it'd be if you didn't have
Oh
any of
my
those?
God. Oh my God.
Like, you just be a regular person, and I'd be damned if I'm a regular person, or any of the people. You know what I mean? Like, nah,
Yeah.
like that is something in itself. So I appreciate fighting, and I think personally, this is how I feel, is that to be from Hawaii, um, think about it. 200 years ago, we had actual warriors walking around this place.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was a way of life, and 200 years ago is maybe like a couple
I
grandparents ago.
know.
It's
I
not that
know.
far
I
away.
know. I know.
So we still have all of that in the ground, in the grass, in the trees. You know what I mean? When you hear the wind blow, you hear people talking to you. That's that's the warriors, man. And that's as corny as it may sound to some people, that's our
No,
life.
man, that
That's
doesn't
that's
sound
how it
corny,
is.
man. That sounds badass. That sounds badass. Makana, man, Hawaii has a rich tradition, man, of just tough guys and really good fighters, and people that are down for a scrap. I mean, you think right off the bat, you think of Max Holloway, you know,
Right.
uh, and you mentioned Warriors were there. I mean, absolutely. I mean, Hawaiians are known for their ability to punch and their toughness and everything else. I mean, what is kind of your experience with that, or what can you share about your experience with that besides what you've already shared, which for me has been really insightful, because I mean I'm from nowhere near Hawaii, but I just find it fascinating, and the fact that they have so many fighters that come out of there and so many athletes, it's a special thing.
Um, so outside looking in, I feel like a lot of people who aren't from Hawaii, they see Hawaii as palm trees, hula girls, beautiful sunsets, which it is. Uh, but there's also a struggle here. Ever since ever, since Hawaiian history has been recorded on paper, it's we've always had our back against the wall. No matter what your ethnicity is. Think about it. Hawaii, as more recent history is more like plantations, families coming here, people who needed work, and they had to fight for that.
Yeah.
That's our way of life, and that's just how we were bred. Everybody, whether you are combative or not, you know, wake up, hustle, whether it's for your food or what. Like that's what has been instilled in us. And I remember being little and having people tell us, they think we're dumb because the way that we talk. We have this pigeon
Yeah.
accent,
Yeah.
whatever it is, and it's always seems like you got to start from a level below everybody else to get recognition, and but it's I think it's more of a I think it helps us. I think because no matter what ethnicity you are, as long as you're from Hawaii, you always rep Hawaii,
I like that.
and that's your driving force. I'm proud to be Hawaiian. And you don't just represent yourself and your family and your ethnicity. You're representing everybody else who comes from here. Everybody else who calls Hawaii
Yeah.
home,
Yeah.
they got your back. Like, you know what I mean? Hawaii's such a small place. I'm sure like Max, Yancey, all these guys have people who don't like them personally.
Right.
But
Right.
when they scrap, when they fight, yo, everybody got their back. And there's nothing like representing where you're from. But on top of that, I don't think there's anything like representing Hawaii.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I definitely, I definitely appreciate that. I mean, we actually, come to think of it, Makata, we actually had a Hawaiian fighter on our cards. We've actually had a Hawaiian fighter on our cards. Yeah, yeah. His name is Mark Batista. I've been trying to get him
Hmm.
back. He fought a very tough guy. I won't forget this fight because I remember Chris Cross being like over the moon that somebody from Hawaii was on the card. Like he was so pumped about it.
Did you
Like,
not see my
yeah,
face? I
like
was
like
stoked
like
too.
you're saying, you know what I mean? He saw there was a Hawaiian on the card and he was like all over it. You know what I mean? Especially because he's a commentator. So,
Great.
this Hawaiian kid, Mark Batista, comes out. He's fighting a very tough. He actually fought a kid. I believe he's of Vietnamese descent, and a very tough kid. That kid had knocked somebody out cold in one round in the fight before, and that kid, the way he fights, is he just comes out all guns blazing. And that's what he did in the first fight. He knocked the kid out in the first fight. So his second fight was against Mark Batista. Mark Batista came out, weathered the storm. Weathered the storm in the first second round, started coming back and eventually finished the kid off. And I said, wow, man, this kid is another one of these tough young Hawaiian kids. So big shout out to Hawaii. And, I understand now why.
You know why it is? You know why all the kids are tough from
Why
Hawaii?
is that?
It's because we get beat. We get disciplined when we're young.
Well,
we know how to take a hit by the age of 12.
Well, you and me both, brother. You and me both. Oh, that's good stuff, man. That's good stuff.
I remember one time my mom, when I was like too big for her to like really discipline me, and I thought I was cocky. I was like 14 or 15. She's oh, okay. And she put uncooked rice on the floor.
Made
and she
kneel
made me
on
kneel
it?
in
Oh,
it.
Man.
Bro, and hold out like soup cans to my side. And I couldn't drop my arms.
Wow.
I can't wait till my son is like 14 or 15. I'm going to try that on him.
You didn't hear that here, ladies and gentlemen. That's the whiskey talking. That's the whiskey talking, brother.
Oh, I wish it was.
Oh, my goodness. I'll be honest. You mentioned native. This is a good time to bring up native, man. My parents, natives of the Arab world, man, and they were also very heavy-handed with us growing up. So I definitely, I think I don't know. I'm not speaking on behalf of all Arab people, but I think that's pretty common in the culture too. They did not let me off lightly. I'll tell you that much. But I love them for it, Makana. We love our parents.
Exactly.
For it,
yep.
Because I do think
for sure.
I do think I would have come out an absolute trash can had they not, whipped my ass when I needed my ass whipped. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So, I see your passion for the fight game, and I appreciate that very much, man. I appreciate the understanding. By the way, ladies and gentlemen of Knucklehead Nation, man, if you want to show Makana some love, right? If you want to show NVIIIVE Apparel some love, you definitely want to go and follow them on Instagram at native_active. And the way Makana creative, the word native, which I love, is NVIIIVE. And he did that because that's basically the number 8 in Roman numerals, I would imagine. So,
yep, that's
NVIIIVE_active. After this video is posted, I'm going to put it in the link below, man. Give him a follow. Show some love. Get some gear from NVIIIVE Apparel, man. Makana's going out of his way. He's a business owner to sponsor us here at FightersRep and show love, to the fighters. Not everybody's always willing to support the fighters, man. But Makana, not everybody knows what these kids go through, man. A lot of these fighters, they come from tough places. And I'll say this, this is something, Makana, that people don't understand about fighters typically. I'm assuming you went to refill your whiskey there. But
yeah. My whiskey and the dog's water.
I love it. But
essentials.
Sure. But this is something, Makana, that people don't know about fighters. They think they go and they make a lot of money, these guys. And, most of them aren't making anything. Most of them are doing it for the love. You know what I mean?
I do.
And it's crazy to me. How hard I've had to fight Makana. And you can appreciate this, I'm sure, as a small business owner yourself, how hard I've had to fight to find sponsors, to find supporters, to find people that believe in my vision, and which my ultimate vision, Makana, is to, create a promotion that's so big and so successful that I could pay these guys a living wage in kickboxing, right? And it's something that, is non-existent right now. I mean, there is no kickboxing promotion as far as I know, unless like you go to some crazy tournament where they offer you a crazy amount of money, where you can fight for a living and make a living. And that's what we want to get to, Makana. Because these guys, they do it for the love, just like me and you do, and should be rewarded for
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm dealing with something similar. We have a lot of good people who are helping me out get to where I gotta go, and there's nothing more that you want to do than to put that money in their
it. Mm-hmm.
pocket. And so, I mean, yeah, we get it, and I'm stoked for what you do, and with Chris and everybody, and all this cards that you have coming out next is I'm stoked for it, and it's I wish more people took that not really initiative, but like had that mindset.
Yeah.
You get better, make everybody else better instead of I get better and watch them fall away. So yeah, that's something that I ride with for sure.
And another thing I love about your brand, Makana, another thing I love about your brand is the last post on your Instagram, and correct me if I'm wrong, um, especially with my pronunciation here, but I'm gonna try to tap into the Arab, because we kind of use this apostrophes and stuff as well. The Makapu'u Beach Park cleanup,
That's the one. Yeah, right
beach
on.
cleanup,
Yep.
brother. I mean, you're out
Yes, sir.
here going out of your way to clean up beaches. This is the kind of altruistic person you are. So, I love that. And I would like for you to tell me a little bit about that. And before you do that, we got Robert Pies in the chat. He says, "Hey, bro, what's this about?" Robert, this today is about a fantastic new sponsor in Native Apparel. Its owner, Makana, who's on the screen right there. A guy who stepped up to sponsor us and show the fighters some love and show the fight game some love. A guy who believes in us the way we believe in him. And I ask that you go to native_apparel on Instagram and get some gear from him. But Makana, I want you to tell me, brother, about this whole beach cleanup thing and everything that you do for the community. I'd like to hear about it.
Well, we wouldn't be anything without the community. You know, in Hawaii, I don't know. Well, this is a pretty common phrase, but it takes a village, right, to raise a
Mm-hmm,
child.
mm-hmm.
And I come from the land of villages. So our community is number one, no matter what. If the community is okay, we're okay. The beach is a very sacred place to a lot of people in Hawaii. My mom, she had a really hard life, and her escape. I remember her telling me stories of her. She would wake up at 4:30 in the morning to leave before her uncles or whoever came home, so they wouldn't beat her, and she would go swim.
Wow, man.
And my mom ended up being a college All American. Shout out to my mom, college All American, Olympic trial finalist. She was the first woman to paddle from Molokai to Oahu by herself. I'm
That's incredible. Makana,
my
Makana,
my mom is a G,
an
dude.
Olympic trials in what sport?
Kayaking.
Wow, man. Wow.
Kayak,
Wow.
yeah. So, you know, the ocean is big for us. Me in particular, my son, his name is Hokulea. Hokulea is a Polynesian voyaging canoe that was made to show the world that Hawaiians didn't or Polynesians didn't travel by luck. We mapped out the stars and we knew what we were doing, and we took these little canoes and we sailed around the world. Um, and the year that my son was born was the year that they brought back Hokulea. Look it up if you guys look
Wow,
it
man.
up.
Wow.
It's a Hawaiian voyaging canoe. and they went all around the world. So in Hawaii and Hawaiian culture, I didn't name my son. My auntie and my uncle named my son. That's how you do it. Somebody else named
Wow,
your
I
your
love
child
that. I
a
love that,
dream
bro.
or a namesake. Yeah, and so the year he was born, the hokulea went around the world and proved to the world that we knew what we were doing. We're not, these Pacific darkies that just got lucky and whatever
Yeah,
happened. And so the ocean is huge for us, island civilization, for me personally. Um, and that beach in particular, you'll always find rubbish. There's a disease called microplastics,
yeah,
and you'll find it all over the world. But this beach in particular, you'll always find little tiny pieces of plastic, and it could be from a sports bottle or from, I don't know, a shopping cart from China. And the way that the tides bring it and the way that the island is, you know, it just so happens to break down and land on that beach. So we make sure that we get out there and we do as much as we can. And even just saying do as much as we can sounds kind of cheesy because we could do way more. A lot of our athletes, the kids that we sponsor, they bodyboard, they surf, they body surf, or just being from an island, you end up going to the beach anyway. So we got to take care of, what provides us our happiness, our sanity.
right, right.
Because if we don't, then no one else will. And so it's important for us to not just be like a clothing company, but to, if you look at our website, it says we're not a shirt, we're not more than a shirt, we're a purpose or something like that. And that's exactly what it is. You know, pertaining to the land and the ocean, if you take care of it, it will take care of you. And especially being Hawaiian, that's big for us. So if we don't, who will?
Right.
And that's why we got to do it. It's it's more than a responsibility. It's like an honor,
Yeah, yeah.
you know. So that's why we do it, to get the kids out there, get the families out there, clean up, show your love, enjoy it, you know. So that's why we do what we
Absolutely,
do.
man. I absolutely love that, Makana. So altruistic. So giving. Not just with the sponsorship, but you're sponsoring these other athletes. You're not just sponsoring us. Obviously, the fighting is probably sort of a new thing that you're going into, but you mentioned you're sponsoring kids in other sports as well. I mean, kind of let me know about what other sports your sponsor with Native Apparel, but also why the altruism? Is that a cultural thing? The giving. Where does this giving come from?
Um,
Are
so
you like me? Are you What I'm saying is, are you kind of like me, Makana, a person who didn't have shit and now has something and wants to share it with others? And I said,
no, sir. I was blessed.
okay, okay.
Um, my mom and dad didn't have
I
shit,
see, I see.
and they made sure that me and my brother and my sister knew, what was expected of us, and that things could always be worse,
Uh,
and how to be thankful for what you got. Um, and I think a lot of families like in Hawaii are like that.
yeah,
Like I said, my mom and my dad were both from low income communities. Hawaii is not always palm trees and hula girls.
right, right,
There's ghettos here
right,
too.
right.
There's gangs here too, and there's people who bang all the time. So you have to give respect in a sense. I mean, you always give respect, but like, anything can happen at any given moment. My father, when I was 11, my dad, he was a healthy dude. He was a coach. He ran to the doctors one day, and then I never seen him again.
Wow, man.
And so you can't take things for granted. No matter how good you think things are going, things can always take a turn for the worse. So whatever you got, you better appreciate it And that's the mentality we take when it comes to athletic careers, the island, the ocean, relationships, food. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Everything is a blessing, and at a lot of times it doesn't seem that way, but when it does, that split second when you realize that it does,
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, like, what else can you ask for? So, I mean, just acknowledging that you're blessed
Yeah. Yeah.
in the midst of all the BS is cool. It's a good feeling.
Now, what other athletes, Makana? I want to ask you, what other athletes are you guys sponsoring? I mean, I feel like, as far as fighting, I think, we're probably your first foray into the fight industry. But I kind of
Yeah.
want. I actually have another personal question about, for you. But I wanted to know what athletes you're sponsoring besides, fighters. Obviously, it sounds like you guys are more into surfers and stuff like that as well. And my personal question to you after you answer that is, are you training as a strength and conditioning person any fighters?
So I actually, before I made a native official, um, I worked for a production company with my uncles and his friends, and his friends had his kids and their family, whatever. And one of my good friends, her husband is his name is Ivan, and he's Max's striking coach.
Wow. Um,
Um, right. So and then we had another guy. His name is Shaden Lealoha. He's a beast. Shaden Lealoha. Uh, so yeah, we have fighting is deep over here. So I know quite a bit. And then Chris, my cousin
Yeah,
Chris.
man.
But since we Native became official right before COVID, January 2020. It was an idea since 2013, came official 2020, and then shit hit the fan.
Yeah, man.
So a lot of the kids that I have been coaching and seeing grow up, they didn't have anything to do. They had no outlet. There was no football field no more. That's my beach.
Yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
that 100 yards, that 100 by 53. That's that's my beach. And
Ah,
these kids didn't have that no more. They couldn't go to school. They couldn't practice. The parks were closed. Skate parks were closed, and the only option was get in the water and pick up a new craft. So a lot of the kids that I sponsor now, they've done surfing, they did bodyboarding, body surfing, but they weren't serious about it until we had no choice but to get serious about
yeah.
it. And so the reason I sponsored them is because they didn't quit.
I love that.
They translated it into another plane, and they still ride with it to this day. So the athletes, especially the student athletes that I have, they have to have a certain GPA requirement.
Wow,
They must
wow,
do community
wow,
studies.
wow.
They got another sport. They cannot just be focused on that because it's easy, especially in Hawaii, coastal areas. It's easy to just go to the beach all day and that's what you
Yeah,
do. But to have that a part of what you are is something completely different. So I appreciate that, and for them not quitting and them holding, staying accountable for what they have to do, especially during like I've never been through anything like
right,
coronavirus. You know what I
right,
mean?
right.
Right. For them to just like keep staying positive, keep doing what makes them who they are, staying an athlete, staying a good person. Why not reward them? This is my nature by fault. Is I'm a coach. My mom and dad were coaches.
Right,
I'm a
right.
coach. I was raised to be a
I
coach.
love that. I love
And
that.
so yeah, we try to help out as much as we can, give them whatever we can, and then hopefully soon with the competition, everything opening up. You guys aren't wearing masks in California, right?
You know, it kind of depends, like what the setting is.
Hmm.
I'm not sure what's going to happen for our show. I mean, I've indicated to everybody that's bought tickets on our website, I have it indicated, and on the tickets, I have it indicated that you have to abide by whatever safety protocols in place at the time. Right now, um, they still want. It looks like they still want like people to wear masks if they're like in an indoor setting. But
Hmm.
I think the way you kind of can set it up is by putting a sign outside the venue and letting people know, like, if you're not vaccinated, wear a mask. You know what I mean? And then
Right,
if they
right,
come in without a mask, that's basically them self-attesting that that they've been vaccinated. So it's not like it's not like thorough. You know what I mean? But I
right,
think
right.
that's the way they're doing it. And then some business, they can just say you're not allowed in unless you wear a mask. Stuff like that. But it looks like it's getting relaxed, which I think at this point, if you're not an older person or a sick person, might be a good idea. But everybody has their own opinion on that. I'm not too hung up on that.
Yeah, yeah. It was so sorry. What was your second question? The personal part of
So
it?
I wanted to see if you're training any fighters directly, because I would imagine.
No, not right now.
Yeah,
I wish I was, man.
yeah.
Wish I was. That's one of my things. Is like, there's the physical aspect of
Hmm.
training. Work out hard, do this, sweat, stretch, eat, whatever. But then my favorite part is the mental game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Can you do two more? Can you do two more reps after that? Can you do two more reps after that? I mean, I thought you were the champ, dog. You're not the champ. If you're not the champ, all right, quit. But that's what it is.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
and
yeah.
I push my kids like that every day. Like, unfortunately, I had a kid who was kind of lippy with me yesterday, and I walked up to him. We're doing a group workout, and I was like, you know what, dog? Maybe football is not the sport for you. I heard bowling is coming up soon, and all of
Damn.
a sudden he started working.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
it's I love that. I love that person in your ear who gets you chirpy. I don't know if you there's a ESPN 30 for 30 called In Winning Time, and it's about Reggie Miller. Reggie Miller's cold. And my favorite part of it is when Mark Jackson, I don't know if you know who Mark Jackson
Yeah,
is.
yeah, of course.
Mark Jackson is a commentator, right? Yeah, he was the coach for the Warriors for a little
Yeah.
bit. Um, he gets traded to Indiana, and he just starts chirping in his ear. Oh, did you hear what they said about you? They said you can't do this. They said you can't do that. And he's that person in there. He's like the dog trainer,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
Reggie Miller's
yeah.
like the golden shepherd. And he says that key word, and his ears perk up, and he gets to work.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
And if I could ever get my hands on a fighter, I mean, wait, to train a fighter,
Right,
then
right,
and then I
right,
do it.
right, right.
But yeah, man, that's part of the thing that the mental game of any competition
For sure.
is what gets me going.
For sure. I love it.
I love it. Even if you're gonna lose, dude. Even if how many times have you seen it in a fight, in a match where there's a fighter who's dominating the whole fight, but in a split second that thing changed because of one punch or kick or
Right,
something, and
right.
it's over.
Happens
Because
all the time.
I preach that a lot to my kids. Like, I don't care what because translated to football, I don't care what the score is, as long as that clock doesn't say 0-0-0, we're gonna swing.
Right, right, right.
We're gonna fight. I don't care what the score is, because that's gonna translate off the field. That's gonna translate to when they go to, when they have families one day.
For sure.
Are you gonna quit? Are you gonna roll over, or are you gonna give everything you got?
For sure, for
So
sure, for sure.
that's what I love about competition.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're joining us, this is Makana Santiago, the owner of Native Apparel. Definitely give him a follow on Instagram at NVIIIVE_apparel. Get you some Native Apparel gear. They're sponsoring Fighters Rep 10 on August 13th. You can catch it live here in California. Get your tickets or access to the live stream at FightersRep.com. Makana, we got Trish Nalayan here saying, let's go, brother. And Owen, oh, and Owen McKenzie is in here and is asking you a question. It's, what's your opinion on people who help fighters with diet?
It's another coach.
Yeah.
You have life coaches. You have people who coach you with your finances. It's another coach. It's somebody who's there to help you. It's a lifeline. There's nothing wrong with taking help, especially if you're in competitive sports. Um, so hey man, whatever help you can get,
Yeah.
take it. Many hands make light work.
I love that.
That's another thing that you don't really have to worry about. So if you have opportunities to get help, be present enough to receive it.
Oh man, I never say no to some help, Makana. I love me some help, brother, especially
For sure.
especially in these businesses that we own, brother. So yeah,
Yeah.
Owen,
Yeah.
I agree with Makana, man. I think diet is crucial. I think diet is crucial for any sport, especially with fighting. Makana brought up earlier, diet, sleep, exercise,
Sleep.
all of that goes to
Yeah.
peak performance. All that goes to reaching optimal performance. And Makana, like I do, man, in any sport at the highest level, it's a game of inches, brother. It's a game of milliseconds. It's a game of millimeters,
Yeah.
brother. So
Yeah.
whatever you
Yep.
can get, maybe that extra, head of lettuce, that extra spinach leaf, put you over the top, brother. Let's do it. That's what we need.
Yep.
Let's get it there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And
Yes, sir.
uh, and uh,
That's what it is.
and yeah, so
Don't be too proud, man. Don't be too proud.
never, never. So, Makana, I mean, do you help people with their diets too, or do you just, teach them how to be super strong, super fast?
I do. I have my cert for that. So funny thing is, when I finished playing football in college, um, I got diagnosed with depression.
What?
You play a game since you were 7, 8 years old,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden it's gone. And I ended up drinking a lot, uh, putting other things in my bodies that I shouldn't have, and blaming it all on the depression of it. I ended up getting up to 268 pounds, and I
Wow,
had to
man.
figure it out for myself. I had to figure it out for myself. So it's huge, man. Like where you want to go, where you want to be, that affects everything. Your mood, the things that you put in your body, the water, the food, the nutrition, all that stuff. That's gonna translate into your everyday life. And it's crazy because people take it for granted. You know what I mean? Um, if you if you think about like low income neighborhoods, it's it's categorized as a food desert. And what that means is you may have food and resources around, but you won't have the produce and the nutrition that you need.
Right.
If you live in a 1 mile radius where there's no solid produce, you just have gas stations and liquor stores, where you can buy chips and candies and stuff,
Right.
then
Right.
you're set up for failure. So it's something that you shouldn't undermine. What you put in your body is real, and it will affect how you perform, no matter what sport it is. And for many people, that sport is life.
Yeah. 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 hundred
You
percent.
know what I mean?
Hundred
Just
percent.
functioning.
100%. And I think that's especially important to bring up now with this virus going around because Makana, man, it looks to me like the majority of people affected by this virus, unfortunately, as insensitive as it may sound, are people that are unhealthy, are people that are overweight, are people that are obese. And, that's going to happen with any sickness. I mean, people will be more susceptible to these sicknesses, as long as they're not in shape.
hmm 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 and it all just stems from diet. Not make it wait. I don't like the term diet. It stems from your nutrition, what you put in your body.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right. So yeah, dude, I get it. And if you think about it, if you get down to the nitty gritty of it, we all fighters in some sort. As long as you live and you fighting for
That's
something.
true. That's true 100%. So ladies and gentlemen of Knucklehead Nation, again, I'm going to ask you guys definitely give Makana a follow on Instagram at native underscore apparel. That's NV NVIIIVE. I like how you did that with the the Roman numerals there, Makana, the native thing.
You got to keep them on their toes,
I
George. You
like
got to
that,
keep them
man.
on their
I like
toes.
that. Give him a follow, get some gear, man. Makana's going out of his way to sponsor us. Not everybody believes in these fighters. Not everybody's, willing to go out of their way to help these guys and girls out. They've got so little. I try to tell people all the time, these fighters deserve so much better. They get beat up and punched in the face for a living, and it's an absolute nightmare, Makana, to find sponsors, to find support. And these are honorable kids doing something, living their dream, living their passion. And the fight game gives them discipline, it gives them structure, it gives them so much more. And people should definitely jump on board. And the events are growing incredibly. I mean, this next fight is going to be huge. We've got both of Anderson Silva's kids, Makana, on this next fight. We got an absolutely.
Oh, why do you think I was going?
We've got an absolutely ridiculous main card, Makana. The main event is Chris Cully. He's going to be taking on a 5-time Glory veteran in Justin Moss. And if Chris Cully wins this fight, he becomes one of the few Americans to win a Muay Thai championship, an MMA championship, and a kickboxing championship. But I don't think Justin Moss is going to want to lose a 5-time Glory veteran who's won his past couple fights. He's going to be coming in from Colorado to represent. We've also got, as the co-main event, Makana, Tyrion the Flash Ware, a UFC veteran, a guy who's absolutely proficient in striking. I think this is his wheelhouse, man, being able to stand and bang it out. He's going to be taking on a surging prospect from Team Oyama, where your brother Chris Cross used to train, one of the best camps in the world. Ardavan Moini, he's a surging prospect, and it's going to be an incredible fight. Then we've got Eddie Action Jackson, a guy who's basically been a staple, a legend on the local scene. He's going to be taking on Robert Bracken, coming down from Jongsan, the Wooden Man Muay Thai's gym, a guy who's an absolute legend in Muay Thai. He's going to be coming down from Northern California to represent in that fight. And then finally, last but not least, the first fight on the main card for the pros, Makana, is one that I've been telling people is worth by itself the price of admission. We've got John the Caveman Garcia representing for Inglewood, California, brother. This is a guy with so much amateur pedigree. He came out of the last FightersRep event with the knockout. He's going to be taking on a Stockton, California representative in Mikey.
Let's go.
Man, in Mikey.
San Joaquin Delta College. Let's go.
In Mikey.
Stockton in the house.
Bro, in Mikey 2 Raw Shaw. When I tell you, Makana, these two have more amateur experience in the sport of striking than just about any other, brand new pros you'll find. Mikey Shaw's only 1-0. John Garcia's only 1-1. But we're talking about two guys who have probably 40 to 50 fights on the amateur circuit. these guys are seasoned, and I like to compare them to guys like Lomachenko in boxing, because you don't see Muay Thai and kickboxers land or something. So it's going to be absolutely a firefight between a Stockton representative and a kid representative for Inglewood, Makana. And I can't wait to see you there in the VIP with your whiskey, my brother.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What's your whiskey? What's your whiskey of choice?
For me, it's very cultural. It sounds simple, but it's very cultural. I go with Johnny Walker Black Label because for whatever reason, Makana, that is the whiskey that all of the Arabs grow up drinking. When you're a kid, these Arabs, man, they give you, they make you drink it. They'll tell you, some Black Label, man. You got to drink it, you know. And they made me try. I remember I was a little kid trying it, and I was like, oh, this tastes horrible. And now I love it as an adult. You know what I mean? And it's at every wedding, it's at every
Yeah,
festival, it's at every party with where the
yeah.
culture is involved. So I just grew up on Johnny Walker Black, man. What about you, brother?
You know, shoot, whatever's cheap.
Oh,
Nah. For me, it's got to be Pendleton.
I love it.
Pendleton is it's from like Mount Hood in
Yeah,
Oregon.
yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know, we have big ties to Oregon and Hawaii, especially my family. And my heart is in Hillsboro. You know, so it Pendleton, that's my go-to, and it just tastes better when you like
I
it.
love it. I love it. Rob Hurley's in the chat, by the way. Makana, he says, love Makana.
That's my boy. He's one of our skateboarders, man. That's our guy right there. He's that
Amazing,
dude.
amazing. He says, love Makana
Yeah,
and Native Apparel. Big ups on all he does for the community. Knuckleheads, we got Makana on the channel, man.
respect,
And Makana, I
respect.
want to say again, man, I appreciate you so much for joining me today. I appreciate you so
Thank you.
much.
Likewise.
I appreciate you so much for caring enough to help sponsor the fighters, to sponsor the fight game. You're a guy who believes in it. And, you know, I look forward to growing together with you, man. I look forward to growing together.
All right. Thank you. Yeah. Same here. Same
So,
here.
guys,
For sure. That's the thing, man. Build and grow.
for sure. So, guys, if you haven't already, follow Makana at native_apparel at Instagram, man. And go on Native Apparel and get your Native Apparel gear, man. Show some love, show some support, and tune in to Fighters Rep 10 on August 13th. You can watch it right here on the YouTube channel if you join the channel. Or you can pick up your tickets if you're in California, or you can fly in.
If I may,
For sure, for sure. Go ahead.
before we go out, my baby, he's about to be 5 next month.
Wow,
He's
wow.
I haven't seen him since about a year and a half. He's in Fiji right now with his mom, with his family, his brothers and sisters, and they're all watching. So I just wanted to send my aloha to them. I love you, son. I will see you soon. Thank you guys for tuning in. Please support Uncle George and what he's doing. He's a good guy. Everybody show love.
Thank you, brother. Thank you so much, man. Shout out to the baby in Fiji.
Yeah,
You know, I
yeah,
look forward to you guys linking up again, and I appreciate you, Makana, man. I just, you know, I hope to grow together, and I look forward to seeing you on August 13th
sir.
for Fighters Rep 10, man. Thank you so much for your
Yes,
time.
sir. Yes,
I've kept
sir.
you for
I'm
almost an
excited.
entire hour. Do you believe this was almost an entire hour already, brother?
That's it. We got to get another one with you, me, and Chris on
For
it.
sure.
We'll call it whiskey
I
talks with the
love it. I
boys.
love it. We got to do that, man. We got to do that. But anyway, Knuckleheads, thank you so much for joining us. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Follow Fighters Rep. Follow Makana. Show some love to the fighters. Show some love to Makana and his amazing brand, Native Apparel. And we'll